Welcome back to New Day Northwest. Have you ever heard the term joie de vivre? Well, it is a French concept that means the feeling of happiness and enjoyment of life. And it's a concept explored in the new book, The French Art of Living Well. And author Cathy Yandell joins me now. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for inviting me.
So I just learned something really fascinating about Cathy. She is from New Mexico originally. So what drew you to France in the first place?
Well, sort of a bizarre thing. Gallup is right on the Navajo reservation, and so I heard Navajo and Hopi and Zuni and Spanish, of course, all around me. But I had never heard French, and then a Belgian singer came to town, and she said, "Do you want to sing Frère Jacques?" which my mother had taught me as Frère Jacques, you know? And we sang the middle verse, Sama la matina, and it was really Sonne les matines. And she began to sing, and I thought, that is the most beautiful thing I've ever heard.
Beautiful language.
Had nothing to do with the song that I thought I had learned.
And that started your love for France. And you then moved there, and you were there for quite some time.
Right. When I was a student, I went there for a year, and then I've gone back as a professor directing programs abroad, and also have taken my children, so I've been a mother there, and I've probably lived in Paris for about 10 years of my life.
Wow. I'm so jealous. In your new book, you talk about the differences in attitude towards time between the Americans and the French. Can you explain what you mean about that?
Yeah, well, I think it's not so much seize the day in France, but seize the moment and make it last. And so there's this notion of extending time, and there's a French verb, s'attarder, and that means just to linger over. And I think that that's present in French meals, for example. They take a very long time because you're just taking the time to appreciate the people that are there, the things that you're talking about, the food, the wine, and just, I think, time is a really big difference between the way Americans think of it and French think of it.
We are in such a hurry here.
Exactly.
We are always running around, we're rushing, we want our fast food, we want everything fast, but it really truly makes life feel like it's going too fast.
Well, and English says that too, because we talk about machines that run, and someone runs for office, but in French there are different verbs. That's like to present yourself for office, or machines walk, they don't run. Marcher.
Marché.
Yeah.
What role would you say that art plays in the French appreciation for life?
A very big role, I think. And some of it is just walking in the city. You see the most beautiful things. Or in a small town in France, there's so many monuments and wonderful buildings.
Yeah.
And I think just taking the time again to appreciate the beauty that's around you, whether it be visual or sensual.
Yeah. It's in everyday life and everything.
Exactly. I think there's much more insistence on that.
We have seen kind of what has changed on the national stage with, unfortunately, things happening around the world, but we've also seen an influx of immigrants into France. Would you say that they've contributed to the way, the pleasures of French life, or is the joy of living a pure French thing?
Yeah, that's such a good question. I think that it's a complicated question for some people. So many immigrants coming from North Africa and West Africa, former colonies. But I think that France is not impoverished, but in fact very much enriched by having these different cultures. You have sort of fusion cooking. You have raï, which is an Arab kind of music that's made its way into French music. And I just think, you know, you hear African drums on the street, and the winner of the baguette baking contest, 4 out of the past 6 years, it's blind tasting, and 4 out of the past 6 years have been won by African origin French people.
And it's beautiful how it's seamlessly coming together to really appreciate life in its fullest,
It's true.
in the widest spectrum possible. How can Americans embrace this joie de vivre?
Well, I hope that's what my book is setting out to do in I hope, subtle ways. But I think, again, the question of time and just, you know, I think of the verb profiter in French. So in English, to profit from has become a sort of capitalist kind of term. How much can you profit from this? But profiter means to enjoy.
Yeah.
It means to make the most of. And I think that's one element that I would include. And the second thing would be about the body, about just being aware and living in the body, the sort of sensual aspects of daily life.
Because it doesn't have to mean something that is sexual by sensual. It means just even enjoying food and how, I don't know.
The senses.
The senses and how beautiful that can be. You also talk about, what is the verb for lingering again?
S'attarder.
S'attarder.
Good.
Because you have a whole chapter in here, or a subchapter about lingering in libraries. S'attarder in la bibliothèque.
Yes. Very good.
Thank you. So what is that? Why is that so important?
Well, I think if you take time with something, as you say, we're rushing through. I remember when I was on the first boat, this was a zillion years ago, to France, and I noticed the French people who just seemed to be enjoying themselves, and the Americans, we seemed to be counting off the days until we got there.
Yeah.
So we were all about the arriving, and they were more about what is happening here and now.
That is such an important lesson. When you're here in the States, what do you miss most about France?
Oh, such a good question. I think some of the long conversations and meals, again, it comes back to time, but I also miss walking in the city. I don't live in a city right now, so you in Seattle, you're lucky because you have a beautiful city to walk in, right? And when you walk in Paris, you just find new things all the time. That's all the entertainment you need.
It's so funny that you say that, because we're going to be talking about walking later in the show, because that is something that helps us find that joie de vivre. Thank you so much, Cathy. Such a blessing to meet you and read your book, The Art of French Living, the French Art of Living Well. It is, and just a reminder, Cathy is holding an author event tonight, Thursday, August 17th, at Elliott Bay Book Company on Seattle's Capitol Hill, so go check it out.